Students, we are going to start the new session, and here we have to start from the entity relationship model again. And you already know about what is entity relationship models, what are entities, and what are relationships, right? Here we are going to study about that model in depth way, right? In detailed way. And definition of database. So there are a lot of so database consists of a lot of tables. They all have relationships. Then we know that there shouldn't be any data redundancies, or that should be low or very low. And so why data redundancies are avoided? Because of it can form some anomalies in while you are inserting, updating, and deleting data. Then you are needed to avoid that kind of anomalies, right, by avoiding data redundancies. So what are the things you have to go through? Analysis, conceptual modeling, logical modeling, and implementation. So analysis contains these things, right? Planning, requirement gathering, feasibility study, kind of steps you have to follow. So normally systems, when you are designing a system, or when you are designing developing a system, normally in software engineering, so we have to go through these kind of fundamental steps. For all of you know about them. So planning means what is going to be planned, requirement gathering, what are the things that are required, and feasibility studies, whether it is possible or impossible to do or perform. So they are about analysis, right? Analysis stage. After that, the next stage is conceptual modeling design. So then that is the stage we are needed ER model. Conceptual design. So then at this stage, we can graphically display data using what? Entities and relationships. You can display them. Then, so we were discussing about conceptual modeling. In conceptual modeling, we know that, so ER model we are applying there. And now you know the basic things regarding to AR model. And then these, when going through these examples, again you can recap, again you can realize that same kind of things are applied here, same kind of concepts, procedures are applying here. By you can read and understand these examples. So graphical depiction and ability to summarize information. So there are the facts you have to focus on here. We already know that ER model depends on ER diagram or ERDs and entities, attributes, relationships, right? Then there were some attributes in objects to object-oriented data models. And here also, we can include some attributes of in a specific entity. And in between two or multiple entities, we know that we can build relationships. Here, this example. Okay, first of all, read this example proper way, right? Then you can easily understand what are the entities which are includes here and attributes which are includes there, and after that we will discuss how it can be graphically represented. Okay, take 2-3 minutes and read and understand the example completely. Here, you can see here, then there are entities, and you can use entity or entity set. So entity representing rectangle containing the entity's name. So we know that it is a noun, and after that attributes. So attributes of an entity. So entity is corresponds to a table, right? Then for an example here, there is a student, and student has a name and initials, okay, and student first name and last name. Got that? So if this one is a table, so after that, then you can include these attributes into columns. Now you can understand relationships in between these things. So this table name is student, right? Then the fields can be inserted into there. Then still, then you know that if you are needed to enter information of 10 students, then you can easily insert that trend 10 records into this table. So what information this can store? Students information or students data. Then consider this example. Then okay, always try to draw these kind of graphical representations. Okay, then finally it would be helped to map or plot ER diagram properly. Okay, then you should be able to familiar with these shapes and the way of you should name. Okay, then you can the initial things, you know that you can't keep spaces in between two words when you are naming attribute. Okay, then after that, in next example, again read and understand this one. Okay, yourself. Then we will discuss it. Here, then ER diagrams. So some information cannot be visible, understood. So some information, some values. So if it is a so numerical values, kind of things can't be displayed in ER diagram. So it is a what it is summary like thing can be displayed graphically. Got that? So then things are data, which are previously I mentioned in tables. Then it can't be displayed in this diagram. So this is a fact. This is the thing you have to understand by using this example. Then okay, then if some company has, then if this company has a so when you are representing this data using a ER diagram, okay, then a company should have what startup date and current date or that kind of days. But okay, we can't include numerical values, or that means company's capital. So we can't display that kind of values or numerical values. So limitations, right? And very important thing, okay, previous example, in this example, there was not unique ID, okay, there was no unique ID, like what? So identity card number kind of thing, because of, so student first name and last, both student and last name can be common for multiple students, for and also initials. Got that? So for an example, ABC Nimal Pereira, there can be several other people in Sri Lanka or different countries which are having the same name with same initials. So when we are designing this ER diagram, okay, we have to careful about that fact, right? So then we have to include some unique field to what? Determine the record. Then normally you can insert records or tuples, that kind of values into a table. So there should be able to display this kind of primary key to ER diagram. Oh, and if we can then insert primary key in this way to here. So what? Student, you can't use space, ID. Then when this data inserted into table, got that student ID first, right? Then student name, first name can be included there, and last name you have to name these things, okay? And student initials can be kept at here also. And if it has student ID, right? Okay, university student ID, only what? Allocated only one for one student, then that is identical. Okay, then these records can be uniquely identified according to the what? Student ID. So different IDs can have other students. They are identical. So then you can understand importance of having a primary key. Right? Primary key. P for primary, K for key. Okay. This is very important, these things. Okay, that's why I'm explaining these things are slowly, because of understanding. Okay, so these things would be directly depends on the marks or grades you earned at the final exam, right? So more than 50 marks we would be able to score from this section, right? And primary keys and so then by going through this example, you can understand the thing what I have explained previously, right? Okay. Study 1-2 minutes and understand. Another thing is, okay, and this example, you can see here, course ID is the primary key. So course can have, so see, so 3301. So course ID. So other course of of university, okay, they will have different keys. Okay, then one course has one course ID. Then it can be what? Identify a record separately from other records. Got that? Then so normally when you mention entity, yeah, at least, okay, then this is the first attribute you have to mention. Got that? This is the very important key, that is what? Primary key. Take some time and understand. Okay, then next one is composite key. Composite key. What does it mean by composite key? It is another version of primary key. Previously, then primary key has only one key. But in composite key, it is using two fields to generate that key. What is that? Composite key. So maybe more than one attribute, maybe most of time it may be two or three. Got that here, composite key. So department. Okay, then both department name and number have been used here for generate the key, right? Composite key. So I think it would be better to mention a better example than this. Then you will be able to understand this concept properly. Yeah. Composite key. Then you would be understand the real reason for having a composite key. So previous example is should be improved for generating composite key. Here, then you can understand the requirement of having a composite key, because of there can be people who are having different names. Got that? And you can combine these two keys, and what? Again, you can generate a primary key. So composite key. So actually there is a goal of generating a composite key. What? Then it is trying to determine records uniquely. Previously, we mentioned that primary keys are used for determine uh, keys for without having problems. But when it is not available direct primary key, then it can be what? Produce what? Use two relevant or matching fields to generate a composite key, right? So that is the definition. After that, candidate key, right? So this is different from, okay, you have to understand these terminologies very clearly. And candidate keys, candidate for an election, there would be many candidates for one position. Got that? But at the end, only one should be one person should be selected as the for that position. So like kind that way, maybe multiple candidates. Got that? But only one attribute when there are candidate keys. So after selecting one primary key, okay, then others becomes as candidate keys. Why then candidate keys mean they can actually they have the, then you have to understand the attribute here. Actually, they have the ability of become a primary key, but what? It is not being selected. Then they become candidate keys because of other key, only one key considered as the primary key. So you can understand the thing regarding to this example. And here you can see both student ID from using both student ID and national identity card. They both are unique. Then okay, before selecting the primary key, both are becomes the, so they are candidating, right? But so when student ID selected as the primary key, so NIC becomes what? Candidate key. So read and understand these things. These are very basic concepts, but very important parts, right? Because of we in this course we are designing, we are discussing about database implementation. For database implementation, okay, previously learned things are required and these things are essential. Okay, read and understand these concepts. Then simple versus composite attributes. Simple attributes cannot be subdivided, while composite attributes can further subdivided. Okay, then so here this is very important. This is not the composite key, right? Composite attributes here. Here, if one attribute, so like these attributes, these are attributes, right? So if one attribute can subdivide it to further, then that kind of attributes can be called as a composite attribute. Not composite key, it is different, you can understand. Then composite key can't be subdivided furthermore. Then it is not a, then here this is an example for composite attributes. The name or female, first name or last name. So this is the composite attribute. Why? So you can break this into again furthermore attributes. One attribute subdivided by more attributes. This attribute can't be divided furthermore. So this is not a, this is a simple attribute. Okay, this is simple attribute. This is what? Composite attribute. So this is the entity. Okay, this is what? Again, these things are simple attributes. So while reading the scenario, so normally at the exam, you are given some case, then you have to map or draw ER diagram, and then you should be able to understand here. Here is a composite attribute. Then we should what? I should draw a ER diagram in this way, right? Kind of it, right? So that is the importance of understanding what these kind of composite and simple attribute. Single value attribute, multi-value attribute, different. Got that? When considering a single attribute, right? If it has if it contains, so for an example, here then think there is an table student. So student, okay, we can see that we can mention student ID also mentioned there, and student ID. So student ID can be 1S1122. Think example. So he can have so then here then table. Okay, it is enough to mention as what? First name, last name, and age. So one student only has what? One age. Got that? So if it is 25, so one age, right? But that same student may have what? Some multi-value attributes. For an example, very famous phone number. So one student may have two different phone numbers, right? So then you can understand the difference in between single value attribute and multi-value attributes. So read these things and understand these things properly, right? We know these things, these sections are very important uh, for your CAT, for your final exam. Okay, while you are okay, if you are learning these things at very first time, okay, I am thinking that okay, most of students are learning these things at very first time of their life. Then that's why I'm taking more time to explain these initial fundamental things properly. And if you are learning these things very first time, you have to draw, and while you are listening these things, you have to try draw these graphical representations. Okay, try to get you. It is better to get familiar to these new things. Okay, now you know about these things, single value attributes and multi-value attributes. And the way of representing multi-value attributes, representing in this way, double circles, double oval shaped circles should be used there. Okay, for multi-value attributes. Then you can search more what kind of attributes. For example, for multi-value attribute, you can search more, right? Most of time phone number. Then you have to search. Okay, more what are the other examples attributes can become as a or can behave as a multi-value attributes, homework kind of thing for you. So these are some examples, right? So furthermore, you have to search a multi-value attribute examples. So this is a description for multi-value attribute. Okay. Then derived attribute. Okay, just read these things and understand what derived. Now you know multi-value attribute, composite attributes. Previously we studied about them. Here, derived attribute. Read them and understand. So derived attribute need not be physically stored within the database, instead of derived by using an algorithm. For an example, person age can be what? Produced derived by using date of birth.
then the way of having age, we all know it. So that kind of attribute can be called as derived attribute, right? Then relationships. Then here, previous things all were about attributes. Okay, previously we learned about entities. After that, uh, entities can have multiple so different types of attributes. Okay, and also before that we mentioned that entities can have different types of keys. We learned about entity different keys, primary keys and composite key and candidate keys. After that we learned that entities can have different types of uh, attributes, simple attributes or composite attributes, or after that multi-value attribute, and then we learned about derived attribute. So they are the things about attributes and keys. And here then relationships. So relationship, we know that association with in between multiple entities, there should be at least two entities for normally build a relationship. Then sometimes it is building a relationship itself. Okay, then we will discuss that later. But in general scenarios, it is having two entities, and relationship can be build between these two like this way. So relationships, we know that can be represented in this way. Professor teach for a class can be represented as this way. Here you know that this is a verb kind of thing, keeps in a simple present format. Then other these entities, we are keeping them as nouns, singular nouns. Then relationship degree. Degree means or indicate number of associated entities. Here degree of this relationship is how much? 2. And here unary relationship. Then here uh, then previously I mentioned that so same entity can be build relationship with itself. So this kind of thing called like this way. So you can represent graphically it using like this way, unary relationships. Okay, understand these concepts properly. Very important. And binary relationship, here binary relationship can be displayed as this way. So entities are there. So 2 means binary entities, and 2 relationships can be observed there. Here tertiary relationship, how much, how it is look like. Here there are 3 entities. Then It can be formed like that relationships in between three entities can be formed like this way, then we can consider it as ternary relationship. Okay, to understand these things clearly, okay, always okay, try to draw, try to map, try to take a note regarding these things. If you all learn these things at very first time. Okay, now we know about binary tertiary relationships. Here we are discussing about relationships. You know that relationships are what can be displayed using this kind of diamond shaped polygon. So these are the examples. So this is actually example for the previous one. Here, the contributor details, fund details, recipient details, and here you can see contributors are, there are three contributors, C1, C2, C3, their IDs names are Satum, Dolip, and Arjun. And when considering funds, you can see here fund ID behave as the primary key. But if it has a relationship in between, so this is work as the main table, and then you can see here the main table. So then so look at these three fields. They are related to funds, right? But to make connection in between this table and this table, so we have to put a common field like this. So this works as primary key. So this is a different type of key in this table called as foreign key. Why? It is not the primary key of this table, that is primary key of this table, but this is here works as foreign key because of this already have primary key. So same key can't be work as primary keys for two tables in one database, right? So then the purpose of having this primary key is what? Making a relationship in between these two tables. After that, recipients, then CFR also can perform like that way. Then, so recipient table is this one that has also a recipient ID. This is actually CFR relationship, which is connecting actually, which can connect all three tables together when it has then these keys, primary keys of each table, and CFR can be able to display like that way, right? So that is the way. Okay, hope you can understand this case. Okay, you read and understand these things, and hope you already have gone through these things, right? Okay, this full scenario take 1-2 minutes and understand, and try to understand the requirements of these four tables. Okay, the fourth table is related with this relationship, right? Others are entities related with. Okay, very should be understand carefully. So these are very important points to understand. Okay, hope all of you can understand this example, and okay, we will focus on the next one with the next concept, and we have to learn a new thing there. So cardinality. Cardinality express the specific number of entity occurrences. So, this example, see here. So then, so numbers here normally some limited numerical informations can be represented there. So here one professor teaches up to 3 classes, one professor, and that then read this example. After that, we will explain how cardinality behave. What is the role of cardinality here? Okay, then we can discuss them later. Okay, before that, read this, and then we can explain. Okay, then so there are so professor class association there is here. Professor class association can be displayed as this way. Then professor, then according to this, one professor teaches up to 3 classes. If one professor teaches there, there may be no professors are there. Okay. So here we will discuss about this concept. Then here, then if one professor, so there are many classes which are okay. Here, professor may be assigned what? Okay, it is not must, right? So there are many classes some without any professors. If one class must have one process, if a class has one professor, then the scenario is different, right? So go through this one, and one to many relationship, right? Then it displays what? Minimum or maximum. Okay, there may be minimum one professor for a class and maximum also one. Got that? And here a professor can teach up to uh, 3 classes, but if needed, professor can stay without. Okay, then uh, professor can and still stay at the university without teaching any classes. So you can understand, okay, left side information. You should be able to understand to read these concepts, right? Okay, again, go back and read them and understand how these cardinalities can be mentioned or labeled in proper places with proper numbers. Professor class scenario is different one and student class scenario is another one, right? So, right? Professor may assign 1, 2, or 3 classes. So this one may assign, see, maybe not assign 1, 2, or 3 classes. Then here class must have only one professor. That means what? Must have only one professor means what? There can't be 2 professors and there can't be 0 professors. Minimum should be 1, maximum should be exactly 1. That's why it is displaying as this way. But here, okay, so professor may have means, it is not may have means, I told that reason repeatedly. And maximum is professor teaches for classes, maximum he can teach only until what? 3 classes. But if he wish stay without not teaching classes, okay, then he can stay, but otherwise he can teach 1, 2, or 3 classes. So that's the way, like kind that way, understand this example student class scenario, right? So this is the scenario and hope you can understand it properly. Student may enroll 1 to 6 classes, then it can be so minimum 1, maximum 6, right? And then they have used may word. Class may enroll up to 35 students. Okay, it is possible class have no current enrolled students. Hope you can understand. And maximum is 35. Okay, no doubt required things and practice this way of representing cardinalities, right? We learned here cardinalities. So next concept. So then additional explanations, constraints, ordinary constraint like rule. So the same thing with little alternations. So only one term comes here is constraints and consider as rules. So these are the examples, the practical level examples. Hope you can understand these things properly. Then we can go to the next presentation. Again, new terminologies. Okay, read and understand these things. Okay, new concepts, new terms are comes here. Read and understand these things. Okay, then weak entity. So by name you can understand it is a weak. Okay, why it is considered as weak? It needs support of what? This is a entity, but it is a weak entity. Okay, so if this one is weak entity, Okay, these need the support of another entity to exist. Exist means what? The existence means what? So if it is uh, exist means what? If it is not get the support of this one, so this one won't exist anymore. That means it won't. It is get deleted or it is get destroyed. Hope all of you can understand these concepts properly. Got existence dependency. So it cannot exist, okay, without the help of other entity. The weak entity cannot be exist. Got that? Yeah. Then examples has a primary key that partially or totally derived from the parent entity. Then we will okay. Then I will show weak entity related example here. Okay, this is dependent is weak entity, right? Employee is the main entity, so primary entity, and without employee, dependent can't exist, right? So that is the thing. Uh, you should basically understand regarding weak entity. Okay, so other entity normally called as a strong entity when it is talking with weak entity. So when one becomes weak, other one becomes strong generally, right? Then here, so these examples. So existence dependency, you can understand this is English, right? General, I understand maybe enough to understand the concept. Okay, when one depends another, okay, there is a existence dependency, right? So figure 12.1. If you examine, okay, then read this example. When one to many relationship there, then that is a different case relationship. And here we are discussing about existence dependency. You can understand here normally in general concept without having a cause, there shouldn't be a class because of for a class there should be things to be teach for the teacher, or there should be things to be learned. Then cause should be there, must be there. Okay, without cause entity, class entity can't be existence. existence dependency. Then now you know who is the dependent. Then that is dependent is the weak entity, and other entity is the strong entity. So it can it can exist without having any help of any other entity. But class entity is weak entity. Why? It always need a support from cause. If cause is exist, class existing. If cause is not available there, okay, then class is also not there. No class there. Then here, then you can see attributes of these two entities, and can try to understand these things. Table creation order. What table should comes first? Cost table. No. Okay. Then there is no argument. Okay. First thing, cost table should come first. After that, class table should come because of it depends with the cost. Hope you can understand these concepts now clearly. Okay, existence dependency. Okay, you can understand, right? Maybe new terms for you, but they are very simple. You have to understand who is the dependent. Dependent is the weak. Okay, so dependency is there. Okay, someone asking you to describe this thing in Sinhala too. Okay, then මේක දැන් මේ විදිහට කියද්දී එතකොට මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? දැන් මේ course කියන්නේ entity එකක්, class කියන්නේ entity එකක්. මොකද වෙන්නේ? course entity එක තියෙනවා නම් විතරයි class entity එක තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. course entity එක නැති වුණොත් class කියන entity එකේ පැවැත්ම, ඒ කියන්නේ existence එක නැති වෙනවා. හරිද? ඒ හින්දා දැන් class කියන එක්කෙනා පරායත්තයි, ඒ කියන්නේ depend වෙනවා, රඳා පවතිනවා course කියන entity එක උඩ. හරි? Hope you got clear. Okay, read these things and understand these concepts, right? Then now you know more basic things regarding to these ER diagrams, new concepts, relationships, entities, entity attributes, okay, entity types, attribute types, okay. Then you can go through these examples, right, and concepts and scenarios. Go through these examples. Okay, these things, hope you can understand these things, right? Existence of existence dependency or existence of weak entity uh, scenarios, then it can be represented as this way. Here, one, you can understand, okay, there must be one, at least one, or what, maximum also should be one employees are there, and okay, there may dependents or what or not, right? Then that's why this zero is there. Then means dot that circle mark, not zero. But that here this here zero and here circle mark. Okay, then both comes. Then see when zero comes there, both this one also comes may comes there, right? Then this is the weak entity. Okay, then the minimum employee is one. So then the maximum can be multiple values, then two or three or any values can be there due to this n, right? Hope you can understand this uh, labeling format. Okay, this is very important. You have to try, you have to go through these examples and okay, when you are drawing, then at the exam, you may draw these related things. Okay, take some time and understand these things. There's a zero, that means this circle part showing that it is not, it is uh, not mandatory means what? Not mandatory means it is optional, right? It is optional, not always connected there. But you can't say that employees optional, right? It is mandatory. Got that? Employee must be there to, right? When you are displaying dependent, but okay, even without dependent there, employee can exist because of it is not depending with anyone. Hope you can, it is a strong entity. Yes, correct. So there are the things you can understand. So participation and we can inherit this section also should be able to understand. So employee fields means what? Here, employee and its attributes. Previously, we mentioned the primary key and other attributes, right? can be displayed as there, but and very important, the dependent can be any name. Here, since this name of the mentioned as dependent real, then this is a weak entity. It has the so what? It includes this what part is as this one primary key of other one strong entity parent should be included there, and dependent number of the primary key should also there. So then its primary key composed of two attributes. Okay, dependent primary using dependent primary key and this key using this key, then it can form the primary key that is seems like a composite key. Then relationships, mandatory and optional scenarios. Hope you can understand. I already described that concepts, why it is become optional, why it is become mandatory. You can understand, okay, by understanding here. I told that when 0 comes here, this becomes optional. You can describe, you can uh, notate it that you not that it that using this 0 part. Got that? The 0 is in circle kind of shape. Got that? Then minimum 3, then multiple things that professor, then there must be only one professor according to the according to this case, then minimum 1, maximum 1. You can't keep 0 there, but because of then this also become optional. Then that kind of relationship can't be normally we are not considering at here according to the given scenario. Hope you can understand this, right? Read and understand these concepts. Okay, the mandatory scenario. Read and understand. The case is little bit different than the previous one. Understand the case and understand the ER relationship. So when this one becomes one entity become both entities become mandatory, so then other one can't become depending weak entity, right? So both should be strong entities, because of according to this scenario. Got that? Then professor must teach at least one class, right? Then maximum 3. Okay, one class, there should be one professor, minimum and maximum one professor. Recursive entities, hope you can understand this is clearly. We already mentioned about these kind of things, right? Exists between occurrence same entity. For an example, one-to-many unary relationship. An employee may manage another employee, not the same employee, but both are in same class. Understood? Same group. Okay, the both entities are employees. So one name can be Kamal. Okay, other employee can be animal. Okay, then that two. So persons both are belong to employee means. So that kind of example can be taken for this kind of scenario. Got that? So this data can be described then. So employee manager and so employee name. So the manager. So managers other employees. So both are belong to employees. So that's the way that unary relationship can be represented one-to-one. So one-to-many here, one manager can manage multiple employees here. That's why it displays as one-to-many. And here one-to-one relationship for this given example. Hope you can understand these things very clearly. These are very easy to understand. So this explanation is based on this given scenario. One-to-one and relationships can be displayed as, and unary relationships can be displayed, and this is a table related to that kind of unary relationship, right? One-to-one relationship. So Bandara can be seen here, and the sports name is 347, and then you can see there. So here employee name and what. So Nirmala Bandara and Sarat Bandara, two people. Got that? This Bandara means Nirmala Bandara. This Bandara means Sarat Bandara. Okay, then Nirmala Bandara's so sports is 345. Then same thing. So this representing this one. So the many-to-many unary relationships. So now you can understand these things properly. Then go through these things and understand. so many many relationship type, but it is unary relationship you can see here. So cause requires cause. That means when one cause requires another cause in Open University also there is that kind of causes. So when you are goes through different levels and so that kind of example is here. You can easily understand by spending a little time on this example. Now you already know the concept and always try to go through many examples like these things and try to go through questions by referring. You can refer past paper questions, then you can understand the relevancy of these sections to write answers in answers for past paper questions. Okay. Now there are some questions you can produce. You can write answers there. Try to write answers for SAQ questions and try to do activities on SQLs, right? So okay, keep in touch with the lessons that we are covering in day schools. Got that? That would be helpful you to write 4 more marks in Cat 1. Most of students are asking how many lessons are needed to be covered. Okay, you have to stay with us with day school, then you will be able to know about how many lessons are needed to be covered before Cat 1. So then next week we have to cover these things. Okay, before these things next week. Attributes of relationships, composite entities, kind of things can be covered in next week. Okay, we can cover that today. Okay, then presentation would be okay, it needs some time for this kind of explain these kind of things. Okay, then we have to take spend little time for more time for this explain these things. Okay, then so here it is time for end the session for today. Okay, there is another session, right? Very closer to today. Then okay, we are going to end the meeting for today. Okay, until next day. Okay, take care and bye.